Hola amigos, this is Level 12 and today I'm going to be discussing what I believe is the purpose of Watamote. Now, I know this video is late. I'm sorry. I was being lazy yesterday and back to school shopping yesterday, but whatever. So, we're going to discuss the purpose of Watamote because I feel like Watamote gets a bad rep from some people. Like, all the big YouTubers I watch, they all hate Watamote, and I'm just like, I think you're missing the point of it. Because I watched it going in with kind of the negative connotations, but also kind of thinking, it can't be that bad. And I was pleasantly surprised. But, yes, they have some actual good arguments, but I also feel like it shouldn't deserve all the hate that it does get, so we're just gonna jump right into it. So if you've never heard of Watamote, it's about a girl entering her first year of high school who is determined to be popular. I had that same thought when I entered middle school, but that was so overwritten very quickly. However, she suffers from severe anxiety and lacks needed social skills to survive in society. I can relate there. I feel like a lot of otakus can relate to this sentence, which gets into my point of why Watamote is actually not as terrible as people think it is. But whatever. And at home, she mostly plays otome games and watches anime. She also reads manga. She does all the typical otaku stuff and doesn't really go outside unless she has to. Like myself. Now, Watamote isn't the first anime to be centered around an otaku. Some examples are Konata from Lucky Star, Umaru from Umaru-chan, Zora and Shiro from No Game No Life, and the majority of the Blend S cast all have their foot in some part of the otaku culture. The pink-haired girl, whose name I forget, she writes doujins and makes manga. Dino, the manager, the blonde-haired dude, he likes anime. The blonde girl, she likes to play video games. The green-haired guy, Akizuki-chan, he likes to watch anime, play games, and read manga. Mafuyu, the girl with the short brown hair, she likes to watch magical girl anime. And Hidari, the one in the greenish, bluish, teal suit, he likes to be an idol. One thing all these otakus have in common is that their social anxiety is pretty in check. Except for probably Zora and Shiro when they have to go outside, but they can talk to people. All of these people can talk to people and can go outside, and they can be normal people and not have to deal with the social anxiety that Tomoko suffers from, which is where a lot of people have the issue with this show, is how much in depth it shows her social anxiety going. Now, also, Watamote is also not the first anime to show social anxiety in otakus, such as in Batum and again in No Game No Life. In Batum, the main character, couldn't really go outside and work a normal job because he liked to stay inside. He liked to play games, he liked to just, be alone. And Zoro and Shiro, while they can talk to people, when they thought they had entered downtown Tokyo, they freaked out. And that's what a lot of people can relate to. They don't like to be in big crowded areas where they're near people and they just don't like it. But the big difference between these two shows and Watamote is they eventually evolve into people that can go outside and they can be around people and they can do all these things. Tomoko just kind of forever stays in this state of sheer panic at being an otaku and going to school and going outside and going on the train and all this stuff. So now this is taken from my anime list. These are all the comments of one person, but I've heard a lot of this from the Anime Man and Misty Chronexia and Lost Paws. Those people I've heard. They've all basically repeated this and how much they don't like this show. So the first one says, to say Watamote is an uncomfortable anime would be an understatement. I won't lie there, some scenes even I had to cringe at, especially in the first episode. It's a little sad. Also, just some of the language Tomoko uses is... I don't know how to explain it, but, every minute involves Tomoko failing at something in the most awkward way imaginable, to the point where you can't help but pity the girl. It's not even amusing, it's depressing. I don't think Watamote is depressing. Again, I think Watamote is supposed to show what it's like to live with social anxiety, and it's supposed to I feel like this show is made for two types of people. one type of person who's like Konata or Umaru, who's good at being otaku and good at just life in general, and it's supposed to show the other side of the spectrum, and the other type that it's for is for people who do suffer from social anxiety and just need something to relate to, because in a lot of anime, the otaku character has a lot of friends, or they're good at school, or they do all these things, and it's just insane and kind of unrealistic for some people. And I wouldn't say every moment is awkward. Some moments are awkward, some moments are weird. Probably the most uncomfortable moment for me was, again, that first episode, and when she found that voice actor she liked, and she made him say all these things, and she edited it, and yeah, that scene's kind of cringy, but, you know, every anime has cringy scenes. Unlike the source material, which presents itself entirely as a gag manga, the anime teases us with the signs that Tomoko might actually be changing for the better. I actually feel like, okay, I will agree with this point to an extent. I feel like the anime does tease you a little bit too much, but I also can understand why Tomoko couldn't make a full 180 on her personality. The last episode kind of made me upset. I'm not gonna lie, episode 12, when Tomoko was trying to talk to this friend she made and she couldn't, and then the wind just kicks the friend's skirt up, that kind of annoyed me, and I feel that's a problem, not with Tomoko, but with the script writers. But I also do think Tomoko couldn't make a full 180 in 12 episodes, because the 12 episodes weren't based on fixing Tomoko as a whole, but trying to fix certain situations, if that makes sense. But anyways, nothing ever does change. She squanders all her opportunities, I will agree there. She kind of handles some of them in the worst way possible, leaving both her and the audience with a bitter sense of hopelessness. I think this is an exaggeration. It kind of became expected, but I didn't, my hopes never got up after the first episode, because I kind of understood that this anime wasn't really going anywhere, but just, life. What's the point in enduring so many embarrassing things when there is no payoff at the end? Are you meant to be masochist? Not us, but she is, yeah. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about these last two sentences. It is kind of embarrassing just to watch her go through all this, but it's even more embarrassing when it brings back scenes of you doing the same thing, and then this anime just becomes relatable. Honestly. And again, really harsh language on this show. I have my own opinion as to why people get these types of opinions, but, no one cares to understand what Watamote really tries to show. And I feel like if you don't have social anxiety, you can't really find the humor or can't really relate. Again, it's kind of just meant to be a thrust into what a person who struggles with social anxiety's life is like, and someone able to relate to this show. And just the way this show was marketed as a comedy was a terrible idea. The comedy label should have never been put on this show, because that's where people are finding their issue. They're not finding the humor, and honestly, I can't either, because I don't feel like this should have been labeled as a comedy, but, whatever. People don't understand how to use labels anymore. The humor of Watamote is akin to kicking a kitten, and worse, a kitten that you sympathize with. Again, a little bit strong language there, but I do feel like, again, you're either gonna love this anime because you relate. The phrase, what's the phrase? I'm laughing because it's true, or I'm laughing because it hurts. That's how I would explain the comedy of this anime. And again, the comedy label, again, should not have been slapped on this show. It's not a comedy. It's a parody. I feel like the parody label would have been better for the show, other than comedy. It's a punchline where there is no punchline. The goal is to make us laugh at somebody in a pitiful situation, to feel happy that our lives are not quite as bad as Tomoko's. Again, I feel like you're either going to relate to this and you're going to laugh because it's relatable, or you're going to laugh because you're a sadist. If you don't fit into those two categories, you're just going to watch it and feel kind of awkward and weird and kind of sad for Tomoko, and then just kind of upset with her because she can't get her life together. That's how I feel you're going to react to this anime. Is that comedy? Is that entertainment? For others, perhaps, but all it did for me was bring back awful memories and remind me of everything wrong with teenagers. Again, I do feel it did that pretty well. Watamote was not meant to be your typical insert male protagonist, whatever type of high school anime. It's supposed to be the type of anime where you realize that school sucks and your life sucks and other kids suck. Life sucks. That's the purpose of Watamote, in my opinion. Some scenes were so uncomfortable, but I had to take a break or avert my eyes for a few moments. Yeah, I did that too. I do feel some scenes were a little overboard, but overall it was pretty decent. Whatever. That's not what a comedy is supposed to do. And I will agree with that. Comedy is not supposed to make you cringe or do whatever. Some comedy is supposed to make you cringe, but overall, comedy is supposed to make you laugh. You're supposed to, feel joy and humor in whatever Watamote is supposed to be. But again, the comedy label was too strong a label. It has too much connotation to it of it supposed to be lighthearted and funny and jokey. But a parody can be a little self-degrading. It can be, different. I feel like the parody or the satire label would have been better, and I know there's the parody and satire label because I've clicked on it in my anime list. And there are other animes that do parody and satire so well, and it's just, why couldn't Watamote have had that label? I feel like the death of this anime was when they gave it that comedic label, and it just messed Watamote up so bad. It's also very easy to relate to Tomoko's situation if you've ever dealt with social anxiety. Again, I will agree here. I found myself relating to Tomoko so much it actually became a little bit sad. And if you haven't dealt with it, you probably won't get some of the situations or why she acts this way. Which, if you're that person, go into this expecting to learn about what people with social anxiety have to go through. Sure, her feelings are blatantly exaggerated for comedic effect, but the way people around her is very much real. I don't think her feelings are exaggerated. I feel like her actions are exaggerated. The thoughts in her head, I can't repeat some of them because they're really bad, but some of them are kind of weird, but I've also had thoughts along the same lines, a little bit kind of odd. One thought, though, we both had was the exact same, and I felt my world crumple down, man. Teenagers love to gossip. They love to ignore and exclude anybody that isn't part of their group. Watamote hits this fact home, reminding us just how idealized high school life is in anime. It's the opposite of escapism. Yes, Watamote, that's the purpose of Watamote. It's supposed to show you, when you come home, that your life sucks, and high school sucks, and everything sucks about life. It's terrible. Though I do think there needs to be a good mix of the romance-sized high school and what Watamote is. Because people do need an escape, but also I feel like Watamote is like a reality check, and some people need reality checks, and that's what Watamote is. I don't know, I just really hate how people complain about Watamote, and how Tomoko could just do some things and make her life better, and I feel like you're just spitting at the concept again. It's terrible sometimes how people just write Watamote off as terrible, but they don't realize what Watamote is actually trying to do. It's just trying to show you what life actually is for some people, and not what other high school animes try to portray it as. The mixed bag. Now this is what I feel like this is like the mixed review of Watamote, and this does come from the same person. All these little cutouts are from the same person on my anime list, and I like their review because it was fair and concise, and it wasn't fully praising it, which I'm not going to do that either. Watamote does need some tweaking here and there, like the opening scene. I hated it, but anyways, if nothing else, Watamote should be commended for daring to be different. This is not your ordinary anime. If it was an ordinary anime, Tomoko would be male and she would have a harem in love with her for some inexplicable reason. There is none of that. Watamote wastes no time on romanticizing the high school life, and instead portrays it for what is in reality. Few anime out there have had the courage to do the same. I will agree with that. Watamote is supposed to be this anime where you follow this girl who has social anxiety, in her high school life, and it's supposed to be realistic. Again, the parody label or the satire label or anything other than comedy label would have been so good for this anime. I'm not kidding you right now. But for all the awful, depressing things we see happen to Tomoko, what do we get for it at the end? Nothing but a sad glimpse of a girl desperately clinging to the hope that someday she might attain a normal person's happiness. A dream that we all know will never be fulfilled. Yeah, that's the other side of what people get from Watamote. I'm not gonna lie, at the end I was disappointed. I think I mentioned this earlier on how Tomoko dealt with her one new friend that she was able to make. But I don't think there's all hope is lost, that kind of thought. I do think people can change, and the more Tomoko gets exposed to high school, the more she's gonna be better. I think we only saw her first 2 semesters or something in high school. I know she was still in her first year of high school by the time the show ended. I feel like she might get better, but people with social anxiety, with anxiety in general, either need one of 2 things. Exposure therapy, which is what I try to force upon myself, and one-on-one therapy with a psychiatrist or a therapist. That's the only way you're going to get over your social anxiety, unless you take medicine, which I don't suggest for that type of problem. But I feel like if Tomoko had more exposure therapy, she'd be better. Like, I've been in situations where my parents weren't there, so I had to fend for myself practically. Real fun situations, trust me. But again, if you're forced into a situation where you have to talk, you will talk. Like Tomoko, she was able to do a few things, but she just needs more of that exposure, and maybe we'll see the dream fit better. But I do think it's a little cynical to say that it will never be fulfilled. I'm like, you don't know that. But based on context clues, probably not, because, oh gosh, poor Tomoko. But I have hope. I have hope for Tomoko. Real good hope there. So my opinion / my final thoughts, I feel Watamote is marketed wrong with the comedy label was slapped onto it. Again, I can't say how many times I don't think this anime should have been labeled as a comedy. It should have been labeled as a parody or satire or something that didn't come with the connotations as comedy. And you won't find this anime funny because it's not really meant to be a comedy. Though I believe Watamote was meant to be an anime otakus could relate to on a more personal level. That opinion won't change because, again, no one in their right mind would make a comedy like Watamote and think it's a serious comedy. It should have been marketed more as something for otakus to relate to when they got home. That was more relatable than, let's say, Lucky Star or No Game No Life or Umaru-chan. It doesn't romance high school life or the real world. Watamote is a raw showing of what it can be like to live with anxiety as an otaku. And it does. I feel like it does that really well. It shows Tomoko unable to speak to people, and one of my favorite lines is, I can't even talk or say goodbye to people walking home. And I can't do that to my teachers. One of my teachers one day said good morning to me, and I just waved, and then they got really mad at me. And then sometimes my teachers will say goodbye, and I'll just wave. And the other day, one of my teachers was like, "Hi, how are you?" And I debated not answering and just walking by. But no, I see that teacher so often a week, so I had to talk. So it just helps with the. I do like Watamote. I found a lot of things relatable. Again, it was just meant to be a show for people who have gone through suffering with anxiety, and just showing that other people do go through it, and you're not alone. You're able to laugh at your own pain. Laughing at your own pain is always a good thing. 10 out of 10. Would watch again if I ever have the time. Anyways, so that was it for the Purpose of Watamote. I know most of this was probably just me rambling. I'm sorry, and again, I'm sorry this video came out like a day later than it should have. I've decided that even if I write it on the calendar, I don't have to go through it if I get a better idea for that week, because next week, my thing was, and I really, God, did not want to do it, was the Hetalia characters as school tropes, and I've decided to talk about Sankaria, which I just recently finished, and I think for the next 2 to 3 weeks, I don't have anything Hetalia planned, so hold your horses there. Don't worry, more Hetalia stuff will be coming. Yada yada yada. But, again, yeah, I've decided not to let my calendar dictate what I do videos on, but some of y'all won't even listen, so some of y'all won't even care. Anyways, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more anime and otaku related content. Ciao, chicos.